along as well. And it's a visit with David Stokes that I usually only get to hear. Now I get to be a part of from the Show Me Institute. He's their policy analyst. And with election times, I would think there would be more foam coming from around your mouth.
Well, there's a lot of fun, interesting, exciting issues that the people are going to pick on tomorrow.
That they're going to pick on. It's always picking on. It's always, this is a good idea. It's like, no, let's talk about this. The first one is Proposition S, and my issue is the same as yours. The language on this thing really is ridiculous.
Well, I should know the names more better. Is Proposition S the Olivet issue?
No, the Wentzville Fire Protection District.
The Wentzville one.
And you want me to read? I'll just read to you what it says. Shall the Wentzville Fire Protection District hire firefighters to staff your voter-approved fire stations, which will assist in reducing emergency response times as well as potentially lowering your homeowner insurance ratings by levying 25 cents per $100 assessed on valuation? Is that made up, or is that really the language?
That's really the language, unfortunately. And the problem with that is your listeners, I hope, that's hardly unbiased. However you come, we should raise taxes for better fire service in Wentzville, or what we have is fine and we don't need to go any further. I don't know if you want to read that again. I mean, it's ridiculous how right on the language, it's so biased in how they're phrasing it to the voters.
And if you don't do this, my goodness, you're a pretty bad person, right?
Right. They might as well add that. I mean, you're going to jack up your insurance rates and increase response times, and people will die. And it's all right there in the voting language.
Well, what responsibility do they have to actually make this language clear and objective?
They have a great responsibility to keep it simple, straightforward, and objective. And it's a shame that this went through. They can write anything they want, and if somebody doesn't object and fight back, it just goes through. It should say nothing more than, should the voters of this area increase the property tax by such and such amount to fund fire services.
When you say
that's all it should say.
But you say they are responsible for the language. So who puts the language forward? Is it the people that are putting a particular proposition together are responsible for the wording of that particular proposition, or is there someone who writes it all?
No, there's the people who put it forward at the Wentzville Fire District would have been responsible for writing the ballot proposition. And I wish somebody in St. Charles would have stepped back and said, this isn't quite fair. Let's do something a little more straightforward. When you have these at the statewide level, you sometimes have lawsuits against the Secretary of State's office for constitutional or statutory issues that go forward, and people don't like the ballot language, so they have to sue to fight back. I don't want it to go that far. I just wish the people who would write it in the first place, or somebody in St. Charles who was also involved in getting on the ballot, would say, let's have a little less biased language here.
And you're not having an opinion one way or the other whether the Wentzville Fire Protection District, gets this money or deserves this money or needs this money one way or the other.
I do not. I just think it's a good example of biased language. Whether you're for it or against it, you should be straightforward, simple ballot language that everybody can understand.
Yeah, fair and balanced, like Fox. Never mind. Red light cameras. That's a hot topic. We got it out in St. Charles.
It's terrific. I'm really looking forward to that decision tomorrow at the Show Me Institute and my own writings for a couple of years. I mean, I think as opponents commonly say, they're correct. Red light cameras are really much more about raising money for municipalities than they are for any type of safety. There's really no evidence of any safety increases there, but there's a lot of evidence of a lot more money for municipalities. And, we've seen, it's great that this conversation has been so hot for the past couple months as people are really finally starting to look at what's happening in cities like St. Anne and Forestell and elsewhere. And we've known that for decades, cities have been funding themselves with speeding tickets. Red light cameras are just the newest and latest way to do that. And I hope the people in St. Charles realize that this really is an infringement, I think, on their freedoms and just an excuse for more municipal spending.
Well, the red light cameras have been in court a lot, and so there are, there in fact actually has gone to the Missouri Supreme Court. So what effect does the court rulings really have on some of the ability to pass?
Well, there's been rulings on both sides, but I think the final ending is that red light cameras are allowable. What I like about this is not saying this isn't about looking at it from the court perspective. This is looking at it from the St. Charles County Charter perspective and saying, are we going to allow the county and cities in it to do it or not? And there may be a lawsuit by cities who disagree with it and say that the county charter has no application within a municipality. That would have to be determined, but it certainly would apply to the county and the unincorporated parts. And I think it would be a very good policy choice to get rid of these. And I wish it would go a lot farther than just St. Charles.
Arnold is looking at privatization of wastewater facilities, which, for the most part, it's not really a sexy topic and not anything we're going to argue
about.
about.
It's not sexy.
But who wants to come in and handle your wastewater? What's the point? Is there a big advantage to private companies going in? Hey, we'll take care of this. Do they make a lot more? And is that going to mean it's going to cost the residents of Arnold or wherever more money every month?
There is a big advantage to private companies doing this type of utility work. And it's going either way. The people of Arnold are going to be paying more because, you know what, the city, for political purposes, has been underpricing their sewer services for a long time. And that's very common with municipal utilities of all stripes. You see that in the city of St. Louis with the water division, where the city of St. Louis is like the last place in America that doesn't even have water meters. They just underprice it because it's politically difficult to price it properly. And that's one of the reasons that private utilities, under regulation by the Public Service Commission, do a better job of charging what they need to invest in it. Either way, the people of Arnold and the city of Arnold have to radically upgrade their sewer treatment and spend a lot of money to do it. Here's one where a private company is willing to give the city $13 million, take over some debt, and they're going to be able to do it without having to increase as much rates as the city will.
While we're on privatization, also an Olivet privatization being considered for the parks. And how is that a bad thing where a bill gets passed where, okay, they're not allowed to build anything on what's already been deemed park property?
Well, I think that the ballot language goes way too far in this case. It's not about the sale of the property. I think everybody would agree if you're going to propose selling some parkland, the people should be able to weigh in. This language is so broad where it includes simple leases for any type of business that might do anything in the park. This language would require something like the boathouse in Forest Park. If that was proposed in an Olivet Park, that would have to go to a vote of the people. Those are not the type of, that's just a minor negotiation with a business person. That's the type of thing that city council should be deciding on, not referendums. The boathouse in Forest Park, Steinberg Ice Rink, the Clayton Tennis Center, which is now operated by a private tennis club instead of the city. These things should be done. They're not selling anything. You're not selling any public assets there. You're simply allowing the private sector to have a role in management of public assets. I think it's great, and I think these are the types of things that you elect city council members to decide on.
From the Show Me Institute, always with something to say. David Stokes, Institute Policy Analyst, thanks so much for the time, and I'm sure you're going to be watching things closely come tomorrow.
We will be. Got a lot of information at showmeinstitute.org, and I appreciate the time, John and Farah.
That's exactly where we'd look. Thanks so much for being with us. Kind of classed up the joint, don't you think?
I think so. You really brought a whole lot of light in over here.
All right, a lot of things.